Yo.
What's happening? What's happening, y'all? Welcome to the Martymar Show. I'm very excited. Got a very special guest on today. Today we're this is episode 4, excuse me, my season, and I have a very special guest of mine. She also attends my church as well, my sister in Christ. I want to welcome Jamila Johnson. How are you doing, sis?
I am good. Thank you for having me, brother. How are you doing today?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm finally happy to get you on. I know it's been a process. You know, she's a very busy woman, but I'm very excited to have her on. Um, let's kind of introduce you. Tell the people a little bit about yourself, who you are.
So my name is Jamela. Of course, I attend a church with Brother Lamar. That's how we met each other. Well, we in a church. Lamar Alexander. I attend church with him, so that's kind of how we met each other. I am 26 years old. I live here in Dover, Delaware. I sell chicken out of my trunk for a living, and I'm sure we'll get into that later. But that's what I do for a living. I just ride around the city selling food out of my trunk. And I went to school. I went to school right here in Dover. I went to Del Tech, which is a big college here, and then went over to Women's University and got my degrees in business and kind of have been living life from there.
Hold on, degrees? Like, can we get some bachelor's, master's? What we got going on?
I have an associate's in general business. I have a bachelor's in business administration, and then I have a master's in organizational leadership.
That's dope. That's dope. And you always wanted to do business?
No, when I went to school, I actually thought I wanted to be a nurse. Like I had this whole plan, did
Yeah.
my first semester of nursing school, and then I don't know what I thought, but like when I saw that you actually had to stick people and like be in their space and see stuff, I was like, no, 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 this ain't for me.
Yeah.
And I honestly just went to my counselor. I was like, I gotta switch. And some kind of way I ended up in business and I loved it and I stuck with it ever since.
That is dope, y'all. And we're going to get into how she got to selling chicken out of her trunk because she's being very humble, but she's very successful at what she does. And as we get into the podcast interview, we're really going to get to see that God's purpose for you is greater than what you think. And we're really going to get to hear her story of how she got to where she got. So, and let's get a little bit more deep so people can know who you are. So, how did you even become a Christian? And I usually ask all my Christian guests this, but I'm interested to hear your story. How did you become to be a Christian?
Okay. I love this question when I saw it. So I, like a lot of people, was born and raised in the church, been in church all my life, but I wasn't a Christian. Like I wasn't following Christ. I knew of God. I was never one of those people who questioned whether God exists. Like I've always been more of an intellectual person. So intellectually, it always made sense for there to be a creator of all things. So I knew of God. It was just always a fight on whether or not I was going to follow everything he said. And so, like, I feel like when I tell this story, there's always like a check in my spirit. You know how, like, maybe if you're in a relationship, one person tell a story one way and the other person tell a story this way. I feel like God has his own version. But basically, when I was about 18 years old, I remember graduating high school and I was had a boyfriend at the time. I went with him to the same church I had been growing up in for years at that time. But it was like at church that day, it was different. I had an experience with God. And so I went to the altar and I was like, Lord, I want to be saved for real. Like, I want a relationship. I want to get to know you. I want that. And it was like that day, the phrase that I remember is like, you either going to get saved today or you're going to die. And I don't know if it meant physical death or spiritual death, but
Yeah.
I wasn't about to find out which one exactly that meant. And so I was like, I got like, it was like a clear defining point once I graduated that you have two paths you're getting ready to go down. And this, you're getting ready to make your decision. And so basically that day I had that experience. I made the decision. And when I got up and sat back down in that pew, I feel like the first thing the Lord told me is he got to go.
Mm.
he got to move. You got to separate that. And so I was serious. Like when we went out to lunch that day after church, I was like, you got to go. Like it was a complete shift in the way I thought, in the way I processed that day. So I became a Christian, not because I grew up one, but I had an experience with God where it was like, choose this day what you about to do. And I chose.
Wow. And hearing what you said, that's like one of the most maturest answers I ever heard, especially saying like you realize there was somebody in your life who, for whatever reason, God was telling you to remove. and you made that choice. I mean, I'll be honest, at 18, I wouldn't have made that choice because I wasn't mature enough. So like thinking about that now, like I know you're saying like you had that experience with God, but like how do you feel about that? Because like that's a powerful not even a powerful statement. That's a powerful thing to do. So like, how do you feel about that decision that you made? Like, did you feel comfortable with it at that time, or was it kind of
I
like just in the spirit?
did. I did because I was scared. Like if you've ever had like like only way I can describe it is like you know that you know something. Like if you've ever had an experience, you know that you know. It was almost probably like compared to like Moses with the bush or like Paul getting knocked off the horse. Like when you know something, like somebody say die, nah, fam, anybody can go. You can get whatever you want. Like it was just, and I think I was able to make such a quick decision because I didn't delay the obedience. When he said it, we went out to lunch that day. Like it was a normal continuing on with life, but I had changed in that moment. It was like, you got to go. So if I would have thought about it like you or anybody else, it would have prolonged. It would have been harder to do. And I probably would have been like anybody else. But I think because the obedience in it was so quick, like, okay, God said you got to go. Let's go get this burrito and let me tell you, you got to go.
So we gonna
It
eat
went
first,
that
then you
quick.
get the boot.
He probably still so confused to this day, like, what was wrong with her? What happened?
No, but that's definitely an interesting story, and I praise God for that because even for myself having that, not exactly that experience, but having that experience to where like I knew God was speaking to me, so I can definitely understand where you're coming from. So how did you come to sing in the church? And before you answer that, y'all, this girl can blow. I remember the first time I heard her singing, I was like, dang, she could sing, and she really be singing, and she just be so humble, like, oh yeah, I just da 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 da. But you really are talented and blessed by with the gift of God of singing. Like, how did you come to sing in the church?
So my mom was one of the moms that was like, you, when I go to church, everybody getting out the house. And so it would behoove you to go to church with me or you ain't gonna have nowhere to live afterwards. So again, raised in the church, I went to church all my life. And being young, like you see all the other kids doing something, you want to do it too. So it was, you're going to serve, you're going to usher, you're going to sing, you're going to do something. And so a lot of my friends is on the choir. So I went and joined the youth choir. And I think from there, once they, you get the training or people hear you sing, it was like, oh, this one actually can sing. let's, let's give her the mic kind of thing. And it continued from there, no matter where we moved, because my family was in the military. It was just like, oh, it was something that was probably a comfort to me moving around a lot. Like, oh, I always knew I had whatever church we went to. This is something that was, I could always do no matter where we went, no matter where the country changed or being overseas or something like that. Singing in church was something I always had. And I got to enjoy singing through that.
So how did you? So let me, if you don't mind me asking, how did you get to our church? And then especially you
Awesome.
singing.
Yeah. So our church is funny. Like, so the church that I grew up in, I don't say grew up in because I bounced around because of the military a lot. So we got here and we started at the chapel like anybody else. And if you know anything about chapels on base, everybody worships in the same space. So it's like Buddhists 1 hour, Christians, Catholics, this, that, like everybody has an hour.
Oh, wow.
And so we were, started out there like we normally would. And then we found this church called Blood of the Lamb Ministries. And it was amazing. But it just kind of got to a point where when God tells you to move, not because you're offended, not because something this or something that. It
Right.
was time, like I had grown to a level where not that I outgrew them, but I outgrew my assignment there, my time there. And so I was visiting United Fellowship while I was still going to my church. So it's kind of like God made the transition easier for me getting to know them first and stuff like that. And so United Fellowship used to go to church in the afternoon and my church was in the morning. And then one Sunday, United Fellowship decided to switch and decided to move their church to the like 30-minute increment away from what time my church started. And so it was like, okay, you got to make the decision which church you're going to go to. And it was like, all right, the Lord made no way for me to go to both. So I finally had to pick United Fellowship. And so picking United Fellowship, going there, I was sitting in the seat one Sunday and one of the girls came up to me and she was like, they need you to sing. This is not my church.
Right, right.
What do you
What?
mean they need me to sing? Like I'm not my church, but I'm not on the praise team. I'm not anything. But they had heard me sing before, so they knew I could sing. And so she was basically like, "Hey, we need help. We don't have the right amount of people this Sunday. Get up here and sing." Sung that one Sunday, went to the rehearsal the next week, and ended up being on the praise team. So it was
Oh,
very cool.
I tell y'all, she be having her the best song. Oh, well, I ain't gonna lie, a lot of songs you sing are really good, but the best song I can remember you singing was the Stephanie Gretz singer, the
King of my heart.
Yeah, that man, I'll never forget that Sunday. I ain't even gonna lie. Like, I think everybody was just in the spirit. It was just a powerful service, and then it's just the way you sung it. Like everybody was sitting down. It was like a sense of peace. You know what I mean? I felt like I can remember, like I was going through so much, and traveling back and forth to, get to the church and everything. It could be a lot, and just I remember just being there, and I was like, yo, this is just like the perfect scenario for like God to move. So y'all, in a nutshell, as y'all can see, she could sing, she could blow. Can we get a song or nah? Nah, is that too much? Nah, I'm just playing.
Yeah, I was like, I'm gonna have to do a part two, do a little singing. Because you can rap, you can have a beat going, I'll sing over top if you know.
All right, all right. But so with you being young in Christ, like, what has your experience been like? Now give us 100 answer. Like, what is that like for you being young?
It has been, I guess if I like summed it up in one word, a lot of alone time. Not lonely. I was lonely at first, but getting saved at 18, I guess I would say I spent a lot of time in solitude. So from that time when I got saved, the next 3 years, I was by myself. Like once I had cut off that relationship with him, it was like that relationship like represented every other friendship and stuff I had. And it was like I couldn't make a friend if I tried. I wasn't, because I went to Del Tech, all of my friends ended up going to Del State. Like, and so Del Tech, if you don't, I don't know if you know about it, but it's like older people. It's an older school. So I was like 20-year gap in between classmates. And I had no friends for about 3 years. And it was love. Like I wanted to be with everybody else. I wanted to be at the parties. I wanted to be in the crowd, but it was like I wasn't mature enough to go in those places and still walk the way God wanted me to walk. So it was like he separated me from everybody. And that was a hard time. I was very much alone. And then after those 3 years, the next 3 years, I enjoyed being by myself. Like I got to know me. I got to realize, what is Jamela like? What do I not like? Where do I like to go? What kind of people do I like to be around? And so, although I was alone for another 3 years, it was getting to know me, and I liked me, and I found out what I liked. And then, so after those 6 years, the next year, it's like I started to reintegrate into society. And so that's kind of where I am now. Like 8 usually in the Bible represents new beginning. And so I feel like I'm in like my year 8, and like I'm at a new beginning now. And I'm only here because of all those years I spent by myself, if that makes sense. So I had to be separated and get over being separated the long 3 years, pouting all 3 years because I couldn't go to the parties, couldn't do what everybody else was doing. And so I feel like that season probably could have been much quicker if I didn't spend those years pouting about it. But needless to say, I spent about 3 years pouting about being alone, 3 years actually learning what God needed me to learn about being alone. And then after that, I was able to come out and be a young person and be strong in Christ, because my fulfillment doesn't come from anybody else. And so that doesn't mean I'm not unconfident in areas and I'm still working through things, but generally people will tell me like, oh, you're so mature, you're so this, you're so that. It's because I spent a lot of time alone in solitude, and solitude made me solid. It made me firm. It made me be able to stand and be who I am. So I would tell anybody that if you're struggling with yourself, young Christian, older Christian, like you got to find some time to be by yourself and learn you. So that way, when you get around people, you don't change and don't become like everybody else. You can still be yourself.
And I like what you said. Can you maybe give us a couple strategies on like what exactly were you doing? Like obviously it's clear that you're saying like you had your faith in God and it was letting God minister to you. But like what were some strategies that people could do to help with that time of, let's just say, refining?
Mm-hmm. So I would say get comfortable doing things by yourself. Like pick out an outfit and don't think about what's trending right now. Go to the store and pick out an outfit that you like. Like you'd be surprised what you would pick up, regardless of name brand, regardless of this or that. Go to a movie by yourself and do the movie you want. Find a hobby, like find out stuff you want. I found out that I was like I liked books and I liked learning and researching and information. And so now no matter who I get around, I'm gonna spend some time by myself and go sneak and read a book. And that might be boring and corny to you, but that's what I like, and I don't care. So I would just say find some hobbies, try some different things, go to a gun range, go to a football game, like go to the mall, go to a movie, do things by yourself. I'm now at the point now I'll go to a restaurant, eat by myself, and party of one. I don't like, and that's because I've gotten comfortable with myself. But I'm surprised about how many people I tell them I'm going out to eat, and they're like, "With who?" Me. They're like, "That's weird." Like that's normal. It's only me. I am a single person. Who I'm supposed to, I don't need to have anybody every time I go out to eat. Now I have friends and stuff now, but I don't need to have them every time I go. So I think practical things would be doing practical things. Go find a hobby. If you can find a friend, do things with somebody, but don't avoid even silence. Maybe ride in your car without the radio on one time.
Yeah.
Just don't avoid those times that you can have in solitude. Don't avoid that. Do things by yourself and don't always look for something to fill in the gaps. Create God gaps, I guess would be the best way I can describe it.
And I thank you for sharing that and being honest because I feel like us, especially being young and then Christ, like, and I that was a process for me too, like, because I was like partying a lot, doing all that stuff. So when you get into crisis, like, dang, what happened to everybody? Like, and you don't really realize the stuff to do, but it's not really stuff to do because you're trying to figure out what can I do, what can I not do. I'm trying to remove myself from that situation. So I thank you for sharing that because that's confirmation. Like, we need to really be confident in who God has made us, and we don't have to conform to what everybody else is doing. And two, you don't always need to be up under somebody. Like you said, sometimes just spend time with God, just chill. And even if you want to do something fun, it ain't gotta be a whole squad of people because let's be real, sometimes we don't make moves because there's nobody else with us. And that's not how God necessarily functions. Sometimes he wants to
Absolutely.
just move without other people sometimes. So I thank you for
Mhm.
sharing. So let's talk a little bit about the chicken in the trunk, y'all. The chicken in the trunk. So how did you get started with your business? How did you get started, and where did the idea come from? Because I know Black folks love chicken, but I'll let you
We
kind of.
do. We do. I'll probably survive off of three things. That's chicken, chips, and cucumbers. Like that's
The
my
three
go
C's.
items. The three C's of life. And two of them are vegetables, so I feel like I'm doing all right. But honestly, it wasn't like a lifelong dream of being like a chef or anything like that. Like I'm not even trained to be a chef. I went to school for business. But after I had graduated with my master's degree, I was working this job at a construction company, and I got to work really close with the owners, and it was a really good time. But I kind of plateaued because there was nowhere else for me to go. And so the way my mind is set up, like I always have to be challenged and I always have to be progressing. And so when it got to that point where I loved them, but I didn't love the job anymore because there was nothing else for me to do. I was sitting at work one day and at like 23 having a midlife crisis because I didn't know what to do and I was bored. And so because I was able to work really closely with the owners and I had my degree in business, I was like, I can do this. I can do what y'all doing. And so I decided I was going to start a business. And I think honestly, I went to food because I think, especially probably for the Black culture and just because of slavery and stuff like that, food is a comfort for us. And my mom was a chef my whole life. So I think you'll see a lot of Black entrepreneurs do something with food a lot of times when they start because I don't know. That's just like a big industry that we end up going in. And so, like I said, because food is a comfort for us, and my mom was a chef my whole life, I was like, okay, let me do something in the food industry. And I had thought about soul food because we were from the South. But I remember when I was younger, a friend taking me to a chicken spot, and the chicken was amazing. And I loved it because it was super crunchy. And I was like, well, I can create something like that's like that, but I'll do sticky sauces with it. And it just started coming up with ideas from there. And when I tell you I was frying chicken, making people sick, like I was frying chicken all day. It became an obsession. And I was like, taste this, taste this. Anybody who would come near me, I need you to taste this piece of chicken. And then one day I know my mom was tired of me, but I came over and I was like, I think I got something, taste this. And she bit it. And it was such a loud crunch that went in the room. And she looked at me and was like, you got something with this. This is it. You got something with this. So once she told me I had something because she's the best cook I know, I was ready to run with it.
So did your mom inspire like your cooking or like the this type of chicken, like not the sauce but like the actual way you fry it? Did anything were you inspired from the way that your mom cooked or was it like your own natural just recipe?
It was my own natural. Like I said, I remembered that crunch that I had. And I think maybe because I like potato chips. I don't know. It was something about the crunch that came to my mind. And
Yeah.
I was like, that would be cool to create some chicken like that. Like we have nothing around here that was similar to what I had. So I became obsessed. Like I said, I went on the internet and I researched like I know random stuff about chicken and batters and what a wet batter does versus a dry batter and this and that. And I just kept frying until I got it. So she's an amazing cook, but she actually didn't inspire the recipe. But I needed her approval in my head because she's the best cook I know before I opened it up.
And is your mom from the? I remember us talking like not during recently about like your family at least like stayed in the South for a good portion, right?
South Carolina, a lot of my family's there.
Did that like contribute to like, because let's be real, we know the South is known for like soul food and the comfort food. So like, did that kind of contribute to that as well, or no?
It did not. I've had very interesting, like when they'll suggest stuff because they my family, like, oh, you should sell collard greens, you should sell fish sandwiches and this and that because
Yeah.
we from the South. That's what we normally do. But I've separated a lot because I feel like the brand that I've created is not soul food. Like, although it's good food, but it's been hard trying to keep their ideas out of it because that's what they're used to. That's what we're accustomed to growing up to. So if I were to open up another food truck or do another brand of something, then I would absolutely do soul food. But I just don't think what I've created now aligns with soul food. It's a bit different.
So can we get the name? You never said the name of your business, where you
I
located. Yeah,
it's
that's stuff that
Stix
people know.
Chicken. It's Stix Chicken. It's called STIX Chicken. We're right here in Dover, Delaware. We do a lot of business to business. So you'll see us set up sometimes just in locations in Dover, but for the most part, we'll be on like Dover Air Force Base, or we have a contract with University of Delaware. So you'll see us there, or like Crozier Hospital. We actually were in PA, close to you.
Yep. I used to work for them.
Yeah. Did you?
Hmm. I
Where
was
did you
actually
work?
born in one of their hospitals too.
Oh wow! I didn't even think about telling you, "Hey, bro, we up your way. Let me swing by and drop y'all some food." But when I come back, I'm gonna bring y'all some because we're definitely up in PA this week.
Which one?
It was
There's one in Chester, one in Springfield.
it was an hour and 15 minutes away from here. It was like one Crozier Lane or something like. That's a shame. I don't know where I was.
Well, shout out to Crows. They at least
Shout
they
out to
took over.
Crozier. Yeah, they were an amazing crowd. So that's awesome.
So when you say like you went up there, like you have like your food truck out and people can come out, or is it kind of like let the people know like how does this work?
So that's how it works. So we'll post like at the beginning of the week, we usually post where we're going to be for the whole week. And then every day we'll update it like, oh, hey, remember today's Tuesday, we're going to be at Dover Air Force Base. Today's Wednesday, we're going to be there. So if it's something private where you can't come, we'll post like, hey, this is someone's private party, you can't come. But 9 times out of 10, it's public. We'll just share our location so show you exactly where we're at. So when we're at Crozier on Tuesday, we posted, hey, you can come to One Medical Center Drive or whatever and come get some food. But a lot of times, because it is as a business, our biggest customer group is the actual business that's there. But we do have people who will travel with us like, hey, I was craving some chicken today. Let me know where you at so I can come get some.
That's dope. And do you find like what's the customer interaction? I'm just interested to see like how do you feel about like the customers when they come? Like what do they say?
The biggest compliment to me is if you come back. Like you can tell me my food is good, but if I don't see you come back, then I'm like, they really didn't think it was good. But all the time we have people come back. We'll have people buy the food, leave like, come back and leave a tip. Or come back like, I want you to come back tomorrow. Or come back and be like, this is the best food I ever had and buy some more right then there on the spot. So customer interaction is definitely a big deal to me because I don't think you build businesses by like social media, even though I think social media is a great tool. I think you build business by creating real relationships with people. So when you come up to the truck, it ain't no be no, hey, what's up? Even though that's how I would talk to a friend, it's hi, how are you? Have you ever visited our truck before? We specialize in an Eastern version of fried chicken that comes coated in sticky sauce. Like we're going to educate you about what you're eating and why we call it gourmet chicken. And so I feel like people want what they hear. And so we want you to have a good experience. So we're not Chick-fil-A. We're not trying to be Chick-fil-A, but we're just trying to be Stix Chicken in a more elevated taste, an elevated way of cooking.
And I'm glad you said about the customer relationship because that's the thing that gets me, especially when it comes to, I'm gonna say, minority owned businesses. Like they feel, a lot of people feel entitled, like because we look alike or we may have some of the same struggles that I just supposed to get raggedy service, don't get my food, it's cold, it's cussing going on, all this other stuff. But I agree with you. Like if you're gonna run a business, let's be professional. Build that relationship with your customer. Like, don't assume because we look alike that I shouldn't get the same amount of service as if I was somebody else or based off the amount of money I have, whatever. Just come correct. If I'm coming to support your business, have things together. So I appreciate you for sharing that. So, in talking about your business, what are some, and if you could be transparent, what are
Mm-hmm.
some positive and negative things you've experienced in running your business? Like, what do you think? What are some things you've experienced?
I think I'll do the negative first, then and on a positive note. So negative, I've definitely experienced again being alone and having to do things alone, and I think that's something that's kind of underestimated. When you first start a business, you expect all your friends to be your customers and all these people to come help you. but no one, number one, is going to treat your baby how you treat your baby. So even if people come, you still got to put in that groundwork. But I've definitely had to do a lot of things alone, and it built a part of me up that used to quit that doesn't quit anymore. Like I've become a problem solver. Like I'm going to get the job done. So even the stuff that has been a negative has turned into a positive because it's built stuff up in me that I didn't have before. So being alone has definitely done it. Negatives, one of the biggest negatives has been having to do stuff that I never signed up for doing. So I thought in opening up a food truck, I'm just here cooking and that's it. And numbers, cooking in numbers, make sure the money is right and cook the chicken. But I've had to become a mechanic, changing batteries on the side of the road. I've had to become a fire extinguishing person, whatever that is with the hoods. Like I've had to become so many other things that I never wanted to become. So I would just tell people that when you sign up to do what you want to do, you also sign up to do a lot of stuff you don't want to do. And you're going to have to do it all in the beginning until you become more financially profitable, be able to hire other people to do the stuff you don't want to do, like deep cleaning fryers, all that stuff I can't stand. But in order to do what I want to do, I've had to get comfortable with those negatives. But positives have definitely been realizing my value. I think that's like the biggest positive, and that like the power you have to create. Like I can create something and go give it to somebody. Like that's a big deal. Like having the ability to have my time back. Now you open a business and you think that, oh, I get to work whenever I want to. No, you go from working a 9 to 5 to working 24/7. I want to make that very clear. I am never off. People call my phone at 10 o'clock at night talking about chicken. Like you're never really off. You do have to set boundaries with people though, but like you're always working. But there is a good thing to be able to pick up and say, hey, it's Monday and I decide I get paid today. And you can pay yourself. Or hey, I need to be off because my sister needs me. I had a friend who needed me last week. She was going through a hard time. And I wouldn't do this for everybody, but for her, she called me, and I never had her call me crying the way she was. Everything stopped. Shut the truck down. I'm coming to you because you need something and I'm going to make sure you're okay. So being able to make decisions like that because you use that creative power, how the Bible talks about your gift making room for you, like being able to put your gift and package your gift in such a way that you're able to live in your purpose all the time. I think that's the biggest positive.
Did you have any fear with starting your business or any hesitation or like how did you feel about when you started your business?
So I actually didn't. Like, I don't know. I think maybe because my parents raised me to believe that I could honestly do whatever I want to. Like, I honestly think I could do surgery if I saw a YouTube video about it. Like, that's the kind of confidence that I have.
Strong confidence.
Yes, like I am really confident in certain things. Like I just believe in my mind's ability to be like, okay, monkey see, monkey do. If you tell me that's how it's supposed to go, that's how it's supposed to go. So I have a little bit of like I would say the gift of faith when it comes to doing things. Like not everything, but a lot of times when it comes to working with my hands and stuff, I'm like, I ain't no dummy. If you tell me that's how you fry the chicken, I'm gonna fry the chicken, I'm gonna get it done. But I had a conversation with a friend. His name is Cheston Boyd. And what he really put in me was he was like, you're young enough to recover. And so once he told me that, and I realized like, even if I fail and go bankrupt, I'm only 23. I'm young enough to recover. I didn't have the responsibility of a child. You know, that makes a difference if you're taking care of a child. I didn't have a husband, so I didn't have someone else that I was automatically partnered with that I needed to. It was just me, myself, and I. And I was young enough to go broke and recover. So I didn't really have fear when it came to it.
Mm, And that's definitely good wisdom that he gave you because I definitely agree. You know, sometimes, especially with you being young, like, or here's the thing, even if you're older, right? God may
Yeah.
put you in a position where it's time to do something different and you got to step out on faith, like you said, and not have that fear. And even if you're successful or not, at least you tried it. You know what I mean? You can move on from
Yeah.
it. Sometimes and I would say that even for myself, that's a lesson I've been learning that my greatest limitation is me, just shooting myself down, saying that I can't do it before I even actually even try. So I thank you for sharing that because I definitely needed to hear that. So if you had to give advice to someone that's starting a business, what's some honest feedback that they should do in order to start a business? Like, what should they do?
I think probably the first thing I would say is like, don't pray for trees, pray for vision. And when I tell people that, what I mean by that is like, God is not going to send you trees. He created trees already. They're already here. You want to be able to look at trees and see tables. You want to be able to look at trees and see like all these beautiful things that can come from it. So don't pray for God to give you, he doesn't have to give you this brand new idea. Ask him for vision to be able to see what people need and how you can get that from what's already here on this earth. Like there's nothing new under the sun. That's what our Bible tells us. You want to start a business, your idea is already here. You just need the vision to see it. And once you see it, believe it and do it. It doesn't have to be anything grand. Don't sell yourself short. Like whatever it is that God is calling you to do. I don't care if there's 1,000 people over there. Those 1,000 people aren't you. Like take what you see people doing and don't duplicate it, but you can upgrade it. I didn't invent chicken. I just came up with an upgraded way of doing it. Like it's okay to do things that are already being done. Just take it and upgrade it and do it a little bit differently. And I think another powerful thing is I had read stories about lobsters one time. And then this is just the nerd in me reading random stuff online. And I didn't know that lobsters used to be like prison food and served to slaves and served to servants. Like it was embarrassing to even see lobster shells around your house.
Really?
People, yes, like it was, you were considered broke if lobsters were around your house. It like they used to sell the meat in a can for 11 cents. Like that's how cheap and like vile it was to have lobsters. But then around the late 1800s, people started to see the value of lobsters and the prices skyrocketed. And we know lobsters, you can pay like $10 a pound and stuff like that for lobsters now. And so what I'm saying that to say is you don't change. You're valuable just the way you are. And so sometimes we downplay ourselves, how you were talking about, like, or because of what somebody else says, we don't think we're valuable. That lobster had the same glory it did when it was 11 cents that it had was $10 a pound. You have all that you need already. You just have to see the value in it. See the value that you have, whatever is in your hand, whatever you got. I don't care if all you think you can do is sing. I actually looked up singing here in Dover. There's somebody hiring for a singer in a hotel. Go sing in that hotel. Use whatever gift you have to the glory of God. Do whatever it is that you want to do. People are paying. We can see nowadays people do anything. You can get online and show your feet and make money. I'm not saying do that, but I'm saying like there's anything you can get paid for nowadays. So see the value in yourself. Don't treat yourself, I guess, the way we treated lobsters for so long is what I'm saying. Look at something and be able to see the value in it. Look at trees and be able to see what you can create out of it because nothing's going to change. You just got to see what it is.
Now I'm gonna ask this question because let's be real. When it comes to folks and starting a business, people get a little, let's get real, shaky about money. So when it
Mhm.
comes to starting a business, what do you say when it comes to the startup cost? Is it just whatever you got, make it work, and then invest, or a lot of people's thing is like, oh, I got to get my money up first. Like, what do you think is the best route, or does it depend?
I think it does depend, but I think you can do whatever you want to do on a small scale. So like, I don't know if you ever heard people talk about balling on your level, like
Mhm.
ball on whatever level you want. If you want to, like, I wanted to have a food truck. I started selling chicken in my house. Like, I
Right.
was in my backyard and I made sure I didn't break no laws. I told people just give me donations. Because one thing Jamila ain't never gonna be is in jail. So I was like, I just wanted people to taste it. I wanted them to get it out there. So I was like, if you could just give me a donation for the chicken. And that's part of how the chicken was able to fund itself. Chicken ain't cheap. And just to be clear, I started this business going into the pandemic. Chicken has almost doubled
Skyrocketed. Yeah.
since the pandemic. So I couldn't just be out here giving away chicken for free. So find out how to do whatever it is you want to do on your level. You want to have a hair salon? Okay, start washing hair in your sink. Like find investors, find this, find whatever it is you want to find. But you just got to put in the work, find a way to make it work on a small scale until you can get it on the large scale you want.
Wow. And thank you, y'all. Everything that she's sharing is some nuggets, y'all. And as she can, do you mind sharing the figures of your business, what you share with me, so people understand that you're knowledgeable?
I do not. So we did six figures in our first 10 months of business. So we were extremely blessed. We did extremely well. Like the Lord was really cooking it up. He was cooking it up. But a lot of it, I'm not going to say it wasn't God blessing because absolutely every gift came from God. But you can get a lot of things wrong in business. But what you don't need to get wrong is your people, your product, and your price. As long as you have those three things right, everything else is going to change. Stop focusing so much on the logo and the marketing and the this and the that. You need to know what you're selling and make sure it does what you say it's going to do. who you're selling it to, so you know where to go set up and you know who to market to and
Mhm.
what price you need to sell it at. I see so many people, especially Christian entrepreneurs, we want to sell stuff so cheap because they're like, we're just trying to bless people. There's a difference between business and blessing.
Mhm.
We do business correctly so we're able to be a blessing. But you come to my truck, the food is not cheap. I'm just let you know now. You're not getting no $5.99 box. That's not what we sell. I sell because I know the value of what I'm giving you. I know the work that it takes to make that chicken. I know that your chicken is made to order. I know that how we coat it in the sauce. I'm offering you something of value. So I'm charging you a price that's equivalent with the value. I also don't do sales on my truck. The price is what the price. Ain't never a day they give me a sale on chicken.
Yeah.
Not never a day. I charge what you need to charge so you can be that blessing to other people. But you got to have your numbers right.
And I'm glad you said that because I ain't even gonna lie. As Christians, oh, we be cheap. We be cheap, especially when it comes to supporting somebody's business. And I ain't gonna lie, I'm probably the first person to be like, "Yo, can I get a hookup?" But I ain't gonna lie. Over time, I've grown to mature to realize, like, look, if that's what it costs, just go ahead and pay it. You know what I mean? Especially if they're building their business or whatever the situation is. Like, everybody don't need to be hustled. You know what I mean? Just go ahead and pay it. You know what I mean? It's
And I
value
do
in it.
blessings, but ain't gonna be no come up. Can I get the black discount, the church discount? You better ask the pastor for that. Ain't
Right.
coming out of this truck.
So what's
But
the and I'm gonna ask this last question. What's
okay,
like the average cost of like a meal, just so people can get an idea?
so the average cost of a meal, I'll probably say is $13. But be mind, everything we do feeds like two people. So like our sandwich is huge. So you're like I said, you're getting the value of what you're paying for. We ain't just out here robbing people,
Yeah.
but the way we cook our chicken and the value of it. Um, the average cost probably of a meal is probably gonna be about $13.
That's not bad. That's not bad, especially for y'all giving us a whole bird. I mean, I feel you. I ain't
It's
mad about
huge.
that.
Yeah.
So this has been an awesome interview. I thank you for joining me and just sharing, from your experience with Christ all the way up to your business. And I hope that, my viewers are blessed by everything that she said on tonight. So as we close out, Jamila, if you could give any final remarks, just any final things about your business, anything up and coming, social media, this is your time.
It's my time. Ooh, okay. So again, my name is Jamela. I am the owner of Six Chicken. You can follow us on Facebook or Instagram at Six Chicken DE, and then my personal is just Jamila Johnson. Upcoming, we're still going to be on the food truck. We do a lot of festivals, so you can look for us in your area. And probably my last piece of advice to you would just be to work hard. Like that's going to separate you from the rest. It's not that you have to be the best. That's probably the biggest thing that I've learned, even in the food industry, is that you don't have to cook the best chicken, but you just have to be consistent. Like, and I like to compare it to Beyonce, whether you listen to her music or like her or not. Beyonce, in my opinion, some people might get offended, but she's not the best singer. She's a great singer. But I can name you 5 people right off the bat, you probably can too, who we know can vocally outdo
Sure.
Beyonce. She's not the best dancer. Some of her dancers on stage perform better than her. I think Sierra is a better performer than Beyonce. But why is Beyonce the best like vocal or the best woman right now in the industry? Because you cannot beat her work ethic. That woman has been working since she was like 3 years old to be where she is now. Your work ethic is what's going to separate you from everybody else. The top people in the industries nowadays are not the best, but they're the people who have the best work ethic. So just be willing to do the stuff that no one else is willing to do, so you can have the stuff that no one else is willing to have, so you can bless people that no one else is willing to bless, because that's what it's all about.
Amen. Amen, y'all. So to summarize what she said, y'all, hard work pays off. It may not come right now, but as you continue to work and press, eventually you're going to be successful. And don't let anybody determine what your success is. God will show you at that time what success is versus what the world says. Because it's not necessarily all about the money, but obviously when it comes to the business, as she said, you need to have your people right, your price right, and all that stuff in order so that way you could be successful. So again, thank you for being on, Jamila. This was a dope episode. This is episode 4, my season with Jamila Johnson. God bless. God bless everyone and his people. Peace out, y'all.
God bless.